Hello students, till now we have covered unit 1, 2 and 3. Today we are going to start with unit 4. The topic that we are going to cover today is Nicosia Model of Consumer Behavior. So before starting with the Nicosia model, we should understand what exactly a model is. Model is simply an abstract representation of a process or a relationship. It is an abstract conception of the real world situation. So they are described as the perception or the diagramming of a complex or a system. A model is very often referred as an abstract representation of a process. Whatever the process is going on and whatever the relationship between the various entities, that is represented by a model. So models are used for developing a medium to analyze or to represent the relationship that existing between the concepts. So now with Nicosia model, it was developed by Francisco M. Nicosia in 1966. Now, what exactly the Nicosia model is all about? It shows the interrelationship between the firm's marketing communication, attributes of a consumer, consumer decision-making process. Consumer decision-making process we have already studied in the previous unit. And the last uh, concept is the feedback of consumers' response to the firm. So all these concepts are interlinked and their interrelationship is shown by Nicosia model. So this is the entire model of Nicosia. There are four fields: field 1, field 2, field 3, field 4. Field 1 is all about message exposure, which forms the attitude, which leads to search and evaluation of alternatives, which becomes the motivation for taking decision and action, and ultimately the purchasing decision will be taken, and then consumption and feedback. On the basis of that experience, then again it will go to the field 1. So we will discuss all the fields one by one. So field 1, it has two subfields. The first one is the firm's attribute and the second one is the consumer's attribute. An advertising message from a firm reaches to the consumer's attribute and then become an input to the field 2. So what exactly this represents is the output of a commercial message from a firm in the terms of advertising or any other form of promotions. So these firm's attributes and the consumer's attributes will ultimately becomes the input for field to whatever the communication is coming from the firm in the form of advertising and various promotional programs and the campaigns that will be becoming the input for the second stage, that is for the search and evaluation of alternatives. So what assumption this model is taking is that the consumer has previous experience or the knowledge with the brand. So it is considering that the consumer is experienced and is having the knowledge of the brand and he has a prior experience with the brand. So now these are the two subfields that we were discussing. The subfield 1 is the firm's attributes, means the company's communication to the target audience. Whatever the company is providing information to the targeted audience, that will be coming under the firm's attribute. And the second one is the consumer's attribute. These are the specially predispositions, means what the consumer makes out of the communication and the other inputs. See, company is sending messages or doing advertisement and promotional campaigns for the targeted audience. But how those consumers and the audience is taking that message, that becomes the consumer's attribute. So the two fields, first one is the firm's attribute, second is the consumer attribute. Firm is targeting the message to the consumers and how the consumer is responding to that particular message, that is your consumer attribute. Now the output of field 1 will become the input for unit 2, or you can say field 2. So company's input field creates attitude. So consumers communication and how consumer responding to those inputs will form an attitude for the consumers, which will ultimately lead them to for searching and evaluation of the advertisement product and finding the alternatives for that particular product. So this process results into motivation, which will become the input for the field 2. So it is the area of search and evaluation of the advertised product and other alternatives. If the attribute, or you can say attitude, is favorable, the consumer searches for the product and evaluate it in terms of other alternatives. If the process results in motivation to buy, then it will become the input for the field 3. So now the Nicosia model field 3. We have discussed field 1, field 2, field 3. Now is it represents the act of purchase. It involves the possible transformation of the motivation into the act of buying. Now the company has advertised the product, and the consumer has started responding to it by doing various kind of evaluation and searching information and then comparing with the competitive brand. Now the stage is all about doing the action and making the act of purchase. So the transformation of motivation into the act of purchase. So act of purchase will leads to certain behavior. Okay. Buying process is affected by several factors like availability of particular brand advertised, etc. So now here the motivation will turn into the act of purchase. Now the Nicosia model field 4, the use of purchase item. Now they have purchased. Now it's all about consumption and experience. Use of purchased item includes three factors. First, in use and storage of the product by the consumers. Second is retention of the experience of a consumer as an influencing factor in the future purchase. So what exactly happening? You have bought the product. Now it's all about consumption and experience. So the consumer is using that product or storing that product. So a retention of experience. If the experience could be good or bad. So based on that experience, the consumer will make further decisions also. So it will become an influencing factor for making the future purchases. The feedback of sales results to the firm. So this also includes whatever the feedback given by the consumers to the company. So this becomes the the field 4. So motivation is especially included in Nicosia model. The motivation to action is a result of favorable attitude towards any product or service once they have done the search and evaluation part. So it is a didactic model because it allows the behavior of the firm as well as the individual as their interaction. So motivation is an important factor in Nicosia's model, which is leading to the act of purchase based on the favorable outcome or the favorable attitude towards the product after the search and evaluation of the product has been done. Now, it has certain limitations too. I have discussed about the assumption that he has taken that the consumer has a prior experience regarding the brand or he has knowledge about that particular brand, which is not possible. It is a questionable assumption that no prior consumer with knowledge or experience with that particular product can exist. So, Nicosia model conceived that the buying behavior as a decision-making activity. It includes, or you can say its limitation includes that understanding of inadequate understanding of the influences, what could be the various influences and the interrelationship amongst the consumer attribute in the subfield 2. We are talking about what kind of how they are perceiving the inputs and the advertisement done by the company. So it is there is something lacking or inadequate interpretation has been given regarding subfield 2. Second is that questionable assumption that there might be a possibility that consumers without any previous knowledge or experience with the product can exist. So for the respective decisions that make up a major part of purchases, the operation of this model is ambiguous. no clarity has been given. Despite its limitation, however, the model remains the only attempt to incorporate explicitly the actions of marketing firm within a model of a consumer behavior. They are simply trying to define the process of consumer decision making. So first of all, the company is doing the advertisement regarding a product, and then is how consumers are taking that particular product, that is forming the attitude. After the seeing the advertisement, the consumers are forming attitude, and once the attitude has been formed, then the consumer will go for search and evaluation, and comparing with various brands, they will do evaluation, and once they have done the search and evaluation part, that will leads to motivation for purchasing. They can, if the motivation is in positive direction, then it will lead to purchase or consumption of that particular product. If the consumption results into satisfaction or more than satisfaction, you can see it exceeds the performance, exceeds the expectations, so in that case, it will be a positive sign for companies. So this is all whatever the feedback they are giving to the company. So this is all about the Nicosia's model, and so I will wrap up with this for this lecture. Thank you.